Nash County. Right now, Sheriff Keith Stone is hosting a press conference there at the Sheriff's Office on updates regarding a shooting that occurred during a warrant service with the US Marshals. Again, that press conference is underway live there in Nash County. Let's take a listen in.
Chase ensued into the woods located directly behind the residence. When the marshals and the deputies called up with Donald Fields inside the woods, murder charge. Shortly after 7:30 this morning, U.S. Marshals Task Force and Nash County deputies arrived at 4892 Crabtree Lane in Nashville, North Carolina. The suspect was seen outside the residence, and when engaged by the U.S. Marshals Task Force, a brief foot chase ensued into the woods located directly behind the residence. When the marshals and the deputies called up with Donald Fields inside the woods, it was identified that he was holding a pistol to his head. Fields made a brief statement implying that he was not going to be taken into custody and then sustained a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Deputies and agents immediately attempted life-saving interventions until EMS arrived, but they were unable to successfully save the life of Donald Fields. Fields was pronounced deceased on scene. The North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation was notified, which is our policy in these situations, and are conducting an investigation in association with the Nash County Sheriff's Office. I'll now turn it over to Sheriff Stone for any questions you may have.
Sheriff, was Fields living at this house, or was he passing through? Why was he in North Carolina?
He had moved here. I guess he was an absconder on the run, moved to this residence, and we have just found out shortly that this house also had another federal fugitive in it, and he's in custody at this time also.
Talk a little bit about, the precautions that you have to take when something can go wrong within a matter of seconds. So
I was notified last night by our Marshals Service, and I want to commend the Marshals Service for what they do. They go out and get the most dangerous individuals that other law enforcement agencies are not equipped to handle. They track down very bad people and take them into custody. It's a very dangerous job, probably one of the most dangerous jobs in federal law enforcement, because they could get the worst of the worst. This situation is they had a warrant and they needed a few deputies to go help them take this person into custody, but as you see, they go to a house of crime. They've got two different individuals in there with federal warrants. Both of them had robbery charges or weapons charges, violence. This individual here had a murder conviction and pulled 20 years in prison, goes back and commits another murder allegedly in New York, and we have warrants on him for second-degree murder. And the Marshal Service tracked him to this location in Nash County. We were notified last night. They go out to make an arrest today, and it ends up in a shooting of the individual committing suicide. One thing I'd like the public to understand is, yes, this man did commit suicide. Look at the families that it touches. Look at the law enforcement officers that's got to go home and be with their families tonight and relive the situation the rest of their life, seeing somebody shoot themselves in the head in front of them. It's not an everyday same situation. It's a very dangerous job, and I want to commend that Marshal Service for doing what they did, and our deputies today being on their game so nobody else got hurt. These type of individuals that are roaming the streets are very dangerous individuals. They're dangerous to the community, and that thin blue line of law enforcement is what stops them from continuing their criminal enterprise. As this individual here, he had already been to prison for 20 years, and he's already got another warrant for murder, so it's not like that they're not dangerous people. The second individual in this house has weapons violations, and he's a absconder. And they come to places like, who would think, in Castalia, in a quiet little neighborhood, and move in, and you end up with this type of activity. So it's a very dangerous job, and I just commend the Marshals Service and these deputies today for their diligence in helping keep our community safe.
Just to clarify, so he served the 20-year sentence, then was he out on probation and parole, and then can you walk us through that?
From what I gathered is he was committed a robbery and a murder conviction in 2000, and from that time he pulled his sentence, Evidently, he has a probation or parole, whichever the state has up there. He absconds from that. The local authorities up there did not have the ability to find him. They utilized the United States Marshals Service. They track him down and they find him in a home here.
In Connecticut? He was in Connecticut with a robbery and a murder?
That is correct. And then he has a murder warrant from the city of New York or the state of New York.
So when he got out, he allegedly committed another murder.
That is correct.
Sheriff, was anyone else in the home at the time of the self-inflicted shooting?
There was Lonnie Howley, and he is wanted also out of Connecticut on federal violations of firearms.
That's the one that you were talking about? The second?
Yes, I talked to him earlier today, and then lo and behold, there was warrants on him also. And also our narcotics team has been activated, and they're in the process of conducting a search warrant this time for narcotics in the home.
And what is his name again, Sheriff? Lonnie?
Lonnie Hawley, spelling the first name Lonnie, last name Hawley, Hawley.
2 questions. How is he related to the dead suspect? And did they go there looking for this second guy too?
No, they did not know that Lonnie was at this residence or had any warrants on him until the deputies started conducting interviews of this self-inflicted shooting, and then they found out he had warrants on him. From my understanding, in the brief conversation that I had with him today, he was some type of kin to our deceased.
So Howley is the second individual, or is he a third individual?
What's that, ma'am?
You said that there were 2 individuals, the dead guy and someone else who had federal charges. Howley was that second person?
Howley was
he
the
a
second
third?
person. Allegedly, he was in the house when the deputies and the Marshals Service arrived, and he came outside after the incident.
Can you specify what kind of weapon that Fields used? You said a pistol was like a revolver or some automatic. And was it his gun?
It appears to be that it's a 9mm semi-automatic weapon. He is a convicted felon. He should not have a weapon. That's the last thing a felon needs is a weapon. And I don't know if that gun is stolen. The State Bureau of Investigation is conducting that investigation at this time because it is an incident where we felt it would be best, since we were involved in the onset of it, to let another agency come in. So they're checking the status of that weapon. But from the weapon that I saw, it appears to be a 9mm semi-automatic weapon, and it still had several rounds in the magazine.
So if he had not committed suicide, he would have also been taken into custody for possession of firearms.
That is correct.
Sheriff, how long? Sorry, go ahead.
How close were your deputies and marshals to this man when he pulled the trigger, and were they in any danger of being shot at?
Absolutely, they're in danger. When the deputies pulled up and the United States Marshals Service pulled up, he was in the backyard cleaning up around a bulldog or an American Terrier, and he sees the deputies. He has the weapon on him. He takes off, crosses a fence. The deputy pursues him, jumps the fence, and runs probably 150, 200 yards in the woods. The individual then turns around and the deputy challenges him, and then the comments are made that he can't be taken back, that he can't go through this or something of that nature. Takes the gun and sticks it to his head and pulls the trigger. From the scene where I went down and looked at it, he was no more than 10, 15 yards from him. But at least it's a incident where the individual did not make law enforcement have to make that decision to end his life. He did it on his own.
And Howley and his mother were there, is that correct?
His mother is not there. This was all information that I got from the second party, who was also a federal fugitive.
Was Howley inside or outside?
Was
Repeat.
the second suspect in or out of the house?
He was outside of the house when I spoke to him, but he was inside the house when the onset of the foot pursuit was initiated.
How long do you anticipate them living there and kind of holding up in this house in Castalia? Any idea?
Well, they were still moving stuff in, so, who knows?
So is the second suspect in custody now?
He is in custody at this time, and they're conducting a search warrant on the home at this time.
Do we know where Fields was seen before he came to North Carolina? Like any last particular time he may have been spotted by anyone at law enforcement? Any video or pictures of him?
I don't. That would be the United States Marshals Service. I don't inquire into their great ability to track individuals. I just know that usually when the United States Marshals start tracking someone, they will soon be in custody.
Has there been a next of kin identified to claim the suspect's remains?
The next of kin was notified, but he is in custody at this time.
Oh, he's incarcerated?
He's in custody.
He's Holly.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
so they are related.
yes.
So Hawley and Fields are related, relatives.
He tells me that they are related.
You say how?
I didn't get deep in conversation with that.
The homeowner facing any charges out of this?
Holly is supposed
The
to.
homeowner.
The homeowner is
All right,
supposed.
folks, live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Vanessa Rufus, taking over for Nick Sturdivant. We were just listening live there to the Nash County Sheriff giving an update on a shooting that happened early this morning. This was as US Marshals were trying to serve a warrant on a murder case out of New York. And essentially the big update we heard from this was the person reportedly shot themselves before any authorities were able to get near them. But we're hearing U.S. Marshals did not fire a shot. No law enforcement officers were injured in this situation.